Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a brilliant week. I'm really enjoying it so far. But I wanted to share as well just some of the kind of stats in terms of the people showing up. I think I had about 180 people registered for this bootcamp, which is brilliant. And around 100 people have watched the first workshop, and then yesterday I think we had about 67 people show up live, or maybe they watched it on the replay, but that was the figures that people have watched, which is really good, considering, especially as I work with I see some of the other webinars that I attend or that I maybe have a guest appearance on, and those kind of conversion figures are so much lower. And I think it's because so many people sign up to webinars and then on the day they just don't bother to listen in. So you've got to just kind of if you're going to do any webinars yourself, you've got to put a lot of effort in just to, all these little one-to-one touches just to encourage people to really show up live. And it does pay off. It really is worth the effort. So, I checked my figures and they're very similar because I ran this bootcamp back in September. Very similar results in September as well. But it's all about kind of encouraging people to show up and listen. So, I think, I know when I first thought about running the bootcamp, which was back in September, well, it wasn't, it was in the summertime, and I realised that I was going to have to put a lot of effort in. And I was kind of, if I'm honest, I was bricking it a little bit with it just being myself, on camera, doing everything. And back then I didn't really have any admin support or anyone helping me. Now I have the lovely Claudia who's helping me behind the scenes on some stuff and on social media. But I think that we always have that resistance of, getting some of our big goals kind of ticked off, or some of our big ambitions that we want to do. And it's part of it is around fear and that kind of mindset. And that's why I thought that it was, it'd be good to kind of run a session around, this workshop today around a mindset and around kind of tackling that fear. Because for me, new business clearly comes naturally to me but that's only because I have been doing it for over 20 years now. But I do remember, and the feeling that has never left me. I do remember that first time when I got into my first job. I was actually hired by a recruitment company to recruit new business directors for agencies. So that's kind of the start of my path. And I remember going into work that first day and my boss just basically handing me Alf, that back then it was a big book, not kind of obviously not digital format, but he handed me that big chunky book of Alf, which some of you as agency owners might know. And he gave me a phone and basically said, all right, you can just start at letters A and B and just work your way through. And I was like, oh my life, have I seriously just got to pick up the phone and just ring all these random people? And I was petrified. And so I do still remember that feeling, and I understand that a lot of agency owners, particularly if you're not from a new business or sales background, you're from a more creative background, the idea and the thought of picking up the phone to call somebody up is absolutely terrifying. And also even the idea of sending an email out or putting yourself out there on social media. But there are ways that you can reframe how you feel about new business and sales, and that's kind of some of the stuff we're going to cover today. Ewan was saying the personal video thing was a thing for me. It's brilliant. It really is, because people know that you're then valued a little bit more than you're not just another number. You're actually, I really value everybody that's showing up today, and I'll kind of put that effort in. I think that with all these automation platforms, especially with stuff like Eventbrite, Zoom, it's really easy to go, okay, well, I've got all these people registered. I don't need to do anything because Eventbrite or Zoom will send them an automated email reminding them near the time. But they don't actually really work. You just kind of get them in your inbox, and you're not really, half the time you can't even remember what it was that you maybe registered for or what it was that you signed up for. So I think it's really important to add those extra special touches. So I'm going to go into sharing my slides. Hopefully we're not going to have any, hopefully not going to have any tech problems today, but we already did because I had no volume. I was on mute. So, but there we go. So I think it's been brilliant that I've seen so many people entering the competition. What I wanted to say is, and I think I'm being quite hot on making sure I'm logging all the comments and everything. But for those of you that don't know, the competition is open, and to enter you just have to share on social media and tag me in a post. And what I will do is, if I've noticed that post, I will either comment on it or share it, so you can see that, and then I'm logging it. So then you'll see that I've paid attention, and I know that I've entered you in the prize. So if you've put something on social media and you haven't seen me comment or share, then feel free to just either tag me in the post again or message me, or even if you can't find the post, just drop me a quick email or Facebook comment on Facebook and just say, Lucy, I'm not sure whether you've got my entry, because I'm trying to keep track of it all, but obviously with lots of different platforms, and we miss things quite easily. But yeah, I know that I'm bribing you to come to the workshops and to be consistent and to show up and to share my kind of to help build my profile as well by sharing on social media. But again, this is a really good way for if you want to emulate something like this, that you could do with your own audience. But yeah, what's up for grabs? I think I'm making it worthwhile. Definitely making it worth your while for everyone. So it's one prize, and so there's only one winner, I'm afraid. But the prize includes I'm just repeating this, I know from other workshops, but I do know there's a couple of people on this call that haven't joined the previous one, so just wanted to run through this. But yeah, so basically the prize is a scholarship for your whole team, however many members, if it's just you and one other person or you and 20 people, that's however many you want, into my flagship training program, which is basically an 8-week program where I teach agencies everything they need to know about new business and how to win new clients and how to market your agency. And it really is a game-changing program and I'm very passionate about it, which you'll hear from me. But by the end of it, I just want people to be able to love new business again, and that's my goal. And I think the more that you enjoy doing new business, the more successful you're going to be at it. And it's an 8-week program where I'm there every day, kind of giving support. We start, so the next intake starts on the 1st of February. And I just share with you, so there's lots of kind of videos that you can watch, and all this kind of very methodical training, and then support and feedback from me along the way, so you can make sure that what you're doing is the right thing. But I'll talk to you a bit more about that tomorrow, which is when we have the celebration party. And I'll announce the winner of the competition, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the academy, because I'm going to be open and honest. I would love for you all to join, obviously. I've really enjoyed this week. I love teaching what I do, and there's nothing more than that I'd love than to continue the journey with some of you, or with all of you. But yes, alongside that, I'm giving away 3 one-to-one strategy sessions with me that can literally be used as you like, whether it's to map out your whole plan for the year, whether it's to nail your proposition, whatever it is, whatever you're getting stuck on. And I'm also giving away a role play exercise with a member of your team. So, incredible prize. And I think actually, it's not on here, but I'm going to throw in as well one of my favourite books, which is by Donald Miller. So yeah, really excited, and all you've got to do is just share your biggest aha moments. So let's get stuck in, because I think you're all ready to learn, hopefully with your notepads ready. So I'm just going to quickly recap on what we've covered so far. So if you've missed them, it's all been recorded. You'll be able to find it in the Bootcamp hub. Everything's there. The full kind of YouTube links. I've done a podcast for each one, so you can listen to it when you're out walking, and slides and everything. So what we've covered is why agencies need a new business program, why it's really important that it's not just about trying to get new clients, but about building your agency reputation, and most importantly, not damaging your agency reputation. We talked about how the new business landscape's changed, why we need to lead with value. I covered my 3-step framework, which is about defining your agency's story or your value proposition, then connecting with people, and then nurturing that relationship. And I'm going to cover more about the nurturing bit in this lesson today. And then we went through yesterday the mistakes that agencies make and also the right way to do new business. So today we're talking about mindset and why do agencies struggle so much. And, do put it in the comments if you feel like this is something that does hold you back. Because I think this is one of the biggest struggles, is that if you don't prioritise new business and execute the plan that you spend so much time putting into place, then you will struggle. And client time is always prioritised. And I get that. The clients that we've got, we need to look after. We need to, really cherish them. And actually, I can't remember who it was, but somebody pointed out in the Facebook group or on one of the comments was that, we also have to look after existing clients and not just chase new business all the time, but nurture the existing clients. And definitely that's a really valid point, because there's opportunities, particularly with we're working with bigger organisations, to really grow existing clients. And I think all agencies should have some kind of growth programme, account growth program happening within their agency, that they can maybe formalise amongst some of their account members and accounts teams. But client time is always prioritised, but we have to prioritise new business as well, because if we don't, we know that we don't have, very rare do we have long-standing retainer relationships with clients. It's often project-led, so we always kind of need to feed that engine. And I remember working for years for an agency, and every week I had to submit to the design team my kind of requests, and I would have requests to help, create case studies, to help create mailing campaigns and all these different stuff. And every week after week, my requests were always denied because the designers had no time and they were prioritising client time. But, this isn't really good enough. Agencies, as an agency owner, if you want to grow, and actually, if you want to, even stay at the same level of fee income, you've got to allocate time and resources to new business. But, let's be honest with ourselves. Sometimes, this is not so much with bigger agencies, because I think they are always, kind of working under the gun and possibly don't have the resources. But I think sometimes the smaller agencies, we have to be honest with ourselves and think, do we actually don't have the time at all, no time, or are we just using that as a little bit of an excuse because, we're afraid of what it is that we're afraid of doing the new business level of activity. And actually, this quote from Tim Ferriss, and I do really like Tim Ferriss. Obviously I've never met him. That would be pretty cool. But I like his book and his podcast. His book was The 4-Hour Work Week, which I still can't quite get my head around how you can work in just 4 hours a week. But anyway, he says that what we fear doing the most is usually what we most need to do. And I think that is so true, because we do put off, and also we put off doing what we put off doing what we most need to do, and new business is definitely one of those. But why do we do that? What is it that we're so afraid of? And I think that we are, we're scared of rejection. We're scared of people saying no to us, but is that really that bad? And I think actually lots of people will say no to us. That's part of the process. There is a good book, actually, a sales book called Go for No, which is all about, let's not set ourselves targets to try and get those wins, but as long as we're getting 50 no's a day or whatever it is, then we're going to get to the wins. But think about it. We can't expect people to want to work with us straight away. And it's likely that someone's going to have an agency in place, and that they're happy with. That's absolutely natural. And just because they're not interested in having a further conversation with you at this moment in time, that doesn't mean that you're a terrible agency or they don't like your work. But I think we're also scared of looking stupid and sounding silly. And I get this, not when I'm on the phone to somebody, but when I am trying to do videos of myself. I absolutely hate doing videos. And it's just scared of kind of putting yourself out there. And Chris is saying he's scared of change. And I think that's it. It's we're scared of, if we send out, having those phone conversations and someone might ask you a question and you don't quite know how to answer it or how to respond. We're scared that if we send out new business emails and they don't hit the mark, or someone comes back. And I think you can get quite affected if someone comes back to you with a nasty comment, but nobody does. It doesn't really happen. I think if you are natural, if you're bespoke in your messaging and in your approach, and you're not too pushy, then you'll be absolutely fine. I never have any problems. And, don't forget that you're the expert here, and no one knows your business better than you. And people don't expect you to know their business as well as they do. But I think I find particularly helpful if you are going to make those new business phone calls is to always have, and I have this especially for like new agencies that I'm working with, new clients of mine, is I have what I call like a crib sheet. So it's just one pager or 2-pager that has some kind of keynotes on what their elevator pitch is or their value proposition, a list of case studies that was relevant that I can refer to, and maybe some suggested questions that I can ask somebody when I'm on the phone just to kind of prompt me and remind me, and that can really help you. But we're scared of kind of failure, and this is a big thing. But I think the only way that we can fail in new business is actually by not doing anything at all. As long as you keep a close rein in on cost, you're not spending loads of money on any new business campaign. But if you're sending out a new business campaign, and even if you spent a bit of time and it doesn't get any results, it's not a failure, because you're kind of learning from that, and you're still building relationships, and you're still building your brand. And what might happen is you may send an email to somebody. You may have spent a bit of time crafting that email, and you may get no response at all. But then 6 months later, they might have filed that email, and 6 months later they might come back to you with a brief. And I've had that before, time and time again. I promise you I have. But I think, fear is definitely a big thing that holds us back. And I mentioned on a previous call was that, I had the idea and a kind of real burning desire to start a blog and to start teaching agencies how to do new business way back in, I think it was back in 2008. Because I know that there's so many agencies that need my help, but they can't really afford to hire a new business person, whether it's a consultant like me or an agency or like mine, or an in-house person. So they will need to be able to do it themselves. So 2008, that was ages ago. And, that was when I first had the idea for launching my program and for doing my blog. And it just took me years and years and years, 11 years to actually get it done, because apparently I was too busy. But, was I heck too busy? I could have found, 10 minutes a day to work on it. And it might have taken me a long time, but I would have got there quicker than had I just kind of sat on it and waited for 11 years. And it wasn't being too busy. It was that fear of failure, fear of, just putting yourself out there, fear of it not working. So, I know how much it can hold everyone back. And I have done a whole lesson on this in my Agency Growth Academy as well. But, don't let fear hold you back. I'm going to share with you now some of the strategies that might help you. And if you've got a pad and paper, a pad is a paper and pen, you might want to write some of these down. But this might help you actually in terms of trying to reframe in your mind a little bit about what fear is. So I think if we think of sales, it's not about trying to convince somebody to buy your services. It's about helping. It's about solving problems. Selling is communications really with a purpose. It's definitely about helping. And all of our clients and potential clients, they all have different problems at the moment. They've always had different problems that they're trying to solve. And our sales role as an agency is to find a solution to some of those problems and to help those clients. So spend a bit of time, either, you can spend a bit of time now or after this session, to write down some of the things that you feel about selling. Jot down some of those negative beliefs that you have. And some of these negative beliefs might be, Chris has shared one, scared of change. But they might be, they might hang up on me. Or if they answer the phone, I'm not going to know what to say. I'm worried what they'll think of me. They'll say I'm not interested. They won't like any of the work that I'm doing. They're probably working with an agency. So all of these kind of negative stories that you've got in your head. And if you write them down and then you can look at them and kind of reword them and frame them back in a more positive way. Oh, so my slides have gone funny again. So things like, let's have a look. So things like, yes, they've probably got an agency, but they might be interested in others. Or, I'm not sure what I'm going to say. Okay, so how can you reframe that? I'll plan my script. I'll be ready with questions. What happens if they hang up on me? Do you know what? If someone hangs up on you, then they're definitely not the kind of person you want to work with. If someone's rude on an email to you, do you really want them as a client? I suspect not. So, and what happens if they're not interested in my work, or you can change their perceptions if you offer value. You can help them solve their problem, and so kind of replace some of those words with helping, solving, supporting, nurturing, and think of the positive angle, and create maybe a new mantra for yourself. Selling is helping, selling is building relationships. People don't like to be sold to. No one likes to be sold to, but we do all like to buy, and we do all like to find people, services, companies, businesses, products that will help us with any of the problems that we're struggling with at the moment, and that is how you've got to think of it. But then, selling is actually about, we're going to move on now, selling is actually about, building relationships. And there's different ways that you can, this is like kind of the nurture method of my approach, but there's so many different ways that you can build that relationship over time. You can share some of your own insight, whether that's in blog posts or white papers or anything like that. You can maybe share, maybe in an email or newsletter, you can share things that inspire you or inspire your team. Coley Portobello, actually, when I was working with them years back, they had a really nice newsletter. At that time, their proposition was all about, I have to remember what it is now, beautiful design or something like that. And so they had a newsletter that was just basically called 5 Beautiful Things. And whenever they sent it out, it was just 5 beautiful inspiring things that they design trends or, anything, examples of beautiful design that they've seen around the world. And just sending something like that every week or whatever it was, every 2 weeks was really good. You might want to send them, you can maybe set up Google alerts so you can stay on top of what they're doing, or Google alerts for some of their competitors, and maybe send them, especially if you've met with someone before and you just want to keep in contact with them, but you don't really want to say, oh, just checking in with you, have you got any work? Instead, you can say, oh, I just read this really interesting article about, XXX, who obviously one of your main competitors. I thought you might appreciate, you might have seen it already, but I thought you might appreciate it. If you haven't, you might appreciate a read. Be great to catch up at some point. Something like that is you're not selling, but you're thinking of a way to stay in touch with somebody. Again, articles of interest. You could invite them to an event. Or if you see, events is very difficult at the moment, any face-to-face events. But if you see any webinars that they might be interested in listening to or that you're speaking on, you can send that an invite to some of those, to some of your prospects. You might want to be really proactive. So you could get your design team, or if you're a designer or a web designer, to have a little look at their website and send some thoughts as to what you think they could be doing, or if there's any tricks they're missing out on. So there's all these different ways that you can keep in touch, all these different touch points. So an example of a new case study, or follow them on social media. You can create lists on Twitter so that when you look at your own feed, you're just looking at the list of some of your key prospects. So you can really quickly go in and spend 5 minutes. I mean, I don't really use Twitter. I am on Twitter, but I'm not very good at it. But you can. Create lists maybe of some of your prospects and go into your feed every day and share some of their content and comment on some of their posts. I mean, if you were going to do this, I would do it more with the actual people rather than kind of their brand Twitter accounts, especially if it's big organisations, because it won't be it won't be the decision maker doing those tweets. But often you can Google a marketing director name and see if you can find them on Twitter. So you can comment on some of their posts on social media, on LinkedIn. You can maybe see where they're speaking, listen to some of their talks, see if they're in any podcasts. If they are, and you listen to a podcast that they're on, you can drop them a quick note just to say, thanks for sharing some of your nuggets of info on this podcast. Thought it was brilliant. Great to stay in touch. So there's lots of different stuff that you can send to people in terms of the nurture method. And, you can use your CRM so that it's flags up every kind of 6 to 8 or 12 weeks, depending on how big your database is. You don't want to get it to a place where you've got so many actions to do every single day. But as long as you're keeping in touch with people on a regular basis, and they're all different ways. And of course, you can just pick up the phone and just say, I just wanted to check in with you. But it's good if you've got something else to send them. So, it is about building relationships, and it's about building relationships until they get to that time that they think, oh, do you know what? You're a nice person. I like your approach. I like how you've kept in contact with me. I like your work. I feel like you're a business that I'd like to work with. I've got a project at the moment, and, they'll give you that opportunity. But I think often agencies think that, and I have this time and time again, that, maybe I've arranged a meeting for one of my agency clients with a great brand, and then afterwards, they give me all the feedback, and then a month later I'll prompt them and say, have you been in touch? Oh no, they told me they'll get in touch when there's a brief. They told me they'll contact me when there's a brief. And you know what? Maybe they did say that, and maybe they had all those intentions to contact you when their next is a brief. But in between that time, there's tens and hundreds of other agencies contacting them, offering them different things and ideas. You've got, even if someone is really warm, even if they might even be a friend of yours, or an ex-employee, or someone that you know really well, and they said they're going to contact you when there's a brief, still find those touch points and ways to stay in touch with them, because honestly, they will get tempted by other agencies or whoever else has been keeping in contact with them. So, but it's not about spamming them. It's about building that relationship and staying on their radar so that you're front of line for when they do manage that pitch process. And then, talking about building an agency culture. And again, this might be, I know that in the bootcamp, this week we've got agencies that are just starting out, or freelancers, or just, really in the early days of starting out. I mean, we have more established agencies, but I think even if you are starting out an agency with this mindset of new business needs to be everyone's business, and I need to kind of lead the new business function. Even if you employ somebody, you still got to kind of drive that. Because if the agency head, and if you're the agency head and you're not spearheading new business and driving new business, then how can you expect the rest of the agency to be involved and interested in new business? And the success will come is if the more people in your team that you've got helping you with new business, the more successful it's going to be. And I don't mean that you have to expect your team to be picking up the phone and approaching new prospects, but it's about design. We all use companies, services and products. We all have good and bad experiences of a brand, whether it's from the customer service point of view, whether it's from UX point of view, or whether it's from just viewing a product on a shelf. We will all have those kind of opinions of a brand. And so if you've got all your team, and if you brief all your team to say, if there's a brand that you would absolutely love to work on, or if there's a brand that you've kind of experienced and you don't feel that they're representing their brand in the best possible way, and you've got some ideas, and share it with me, or share it with the new business function, and we can kind of build on that, and we can contact them. Or if there's somebody that you've met in the past, or that you'd like us to approach, we can do that. So you've got to involve everybody, and everybody from the if you're a bigger agency and you have a bigger team, from the office manager, receptionist, through to designer, through to art worker, through to the account management team, definitely new business needs to be everybody's business. And you should have, weekly or monthly meetings with the whole agency where you're sharing the news, not just the good news either, but sharing, if there hasn't been a win, celebrating those wins, and even celebrating those small wins, and recognizing those wins and where they come from. So if you win a project or a pitch, it's not just celebrating the pitch team, but celebrating everyone that's been involved in that, or if that initial lead has come from somebody within the team. And, make sure you keep track of those wins, because you need to have a system in place where you can keep track of where that lead originally came from, because it's really easy to forget. And actually, if somebody does bring in a lead, that they do need to be recognised for that. But yeah, acknowledge some of the achievements along the way. Not just the wins, but if you've had a good new business campaign, or if your social media has performing much better than normal, then celebrate all of those, and incentivize everybody within the agency. And then you can make everybody agency kind of brand advocates. If they're always looking for opportunities and always spreading the word about your agency and about the great work you do. And the incentives don't have to be financial incentives either. It can be more a creative way, like a duvet day, or a lunch with the CEO, or anything like that. Extra day holiday, something where you can reward them in a different way. But you've got to focus on building an agency brand that people are proud of, and I think that's really important as well. Building a strong agency brand, because even the best new business person in the industry, they will have difficulty winning new business if they don't believe in the agency that they're working for. And so that kind of agency brand and proposition is really, really important. You've got to, if you do great, you've got to, and don't stop creating great work. Do work that you're proud of and that others admire, and then you'll build kind of loyal fans for life. But also in terms of like investing and training, you've got to make sure that your team have the confidence to help in new business. Give them the training and support that they need. Maybe identify where those skills gaps are and run training sessions with your team, so that other team members, and it doesn't have to be, it might just be that you've got, if you have a new business person in-house, or have somebody who's particularly skilled at that, then they can maybe give support to another member of the team who needs that encouragement. And encourage your team to attend workshops and training to develop their skills. There's some that are, of course, my agency academy is brilliant for that, but there are others, like Agency Hackers, and Jenny Plant does a really good training program for account managers. The DBA obviously runs some really good events and workshops, and there's loads of free stuff out there as well. And make sure also you're set up for growth. So you want to have that kind of structure in place to grow sustainably, the right kind of management structure across kind of HR, talent, new business, see where your gaps are, and where you kind of need to kind of plug those gaps. So you don't always have to hire, you can work with consultants or freelancers. So we will just recap what we've done so far. And as you know, new business is needs to be a priority. But think about that, my nurture method, and all those different areas of touch points, and how you can, when you look at that, then you think actually it's not about sales, it's just about building those relationships, and place a bit of importance on building that new business culture. But your success is definitely inevitable if you don't stop taking those steps forward. I've had some great feedback in the bootcamp this week, and I know that we can kind of build on that success. And I say we, because obviously I'd love to kind of continue that journey with you all. But success is inevitable if you stay consistent with it, if you keep moving forward, review everything that you're doing. And I'm going to we'll head over to kind of the Q&A bit in a minute. But yeah, I hope that you've loved all this workshop so far. I've got some really good feedback, and I've really enjoyed doing it actually. I do enjoy doing these. It is quite weird when you're kind of just talking at a screen. I always say I'd much rather do these things face to face, but I don't like kind of standing up in front of people on a stage. I'm not that kind of person, so maybe on a screen is better. But I have run kind of different workshops with some of the team at Agency Hackers, with Ian at Agency Hackers as well. I really enjoy doing those things. I miss those face-to-face events, if I'm honest. Coming to the end of the bootcamp. So tomorrow, come and join me tomorrow if you can, because I'm going to talk tomorrow about the Agency Growth Academy, but I'm also going to talk to you about the kind of different options of how you can implement some of the stuff that I've shared so far, because there's different options for everybody. what's right for your agency in terms of, how you should resource things, and I'll answer any questions about what support you might need to help you achieve your goals, because obviously it's different for every agency and every person. But yeah, make sure everything's going to be recorded and it's up in the hub, and that'll be around for, I don't know, 4 or 5 days or so, maybe a bit longer, we'll see, just to give people a chance to catch up on that. But you can find that at, I'll put it in the chat actually if I can get that working, win.lucysnellonline.com/links, /links, and that's where you can find all of that stuff. But yeah, so we don't need to go over the competition stuff again. I think you know how to enter it all. But yeah, we'll go over to the Q&A. I'm going to put my camera on. Let's have a look. Yes, there we go. And have a look at some of the questions. So yeah, imposter syndrome, it's really hard, isn't it? But I think what you've got to realise is actually, marketing directors are experts in what they do, and you're an expert in what you do. And that's why they hire you. And, I listen as well, might be quite helpful to listen to some podcasts where they interview marketing directors to kind of really get into understanding some of their challenges and some of their problems. But, they hire you because you're an expert. So there's no need for you to have that imposter syndrome around that. But it is something that all people suffer from. So my thoughts on BNI. Okay, T. Nelly, I'm going to be totally honest. I have not heard the best things about BNI. I know I'm familiar with it, but I cannot really comment about it because I haven't used it myself. So I think it does depend on your target audience. I gather there's quite a lot of professional services type businesses at BNI, so maybe like accountants and lawyers. So if that is your target audience, then that might be good for you. What I would suggest, I don't know how they charge, but what I would suggest is, trial it out, see how that goes. And as long as you're not signing up for a long-term contract, just give it a try and see. But I have to be honest, I haven't attended any of the BNI stuff, although I have obviously heard about them. So yeah, just seeing if there's any other questions. Now everyone, thankfully people could hear me. So I'll see if anyone's got any questions. But I think, so you is a 2-year member of BNI. Okay, so that's good. And yeah, I guess it does depend because they're all local, aren't they? So there's different kind of local, there's different local BNI groups, and so it depends where you are. It depends on what your target audience is, who your target audience is. But what I would say is, again, with any of those networking things, it is just about kind of putting in that effort. So when you are at any of those sessions, follow up with people afterwards, follow them, connect with them on LinkedIn, stay in touch with them. But I know some people who are just brilliant networkers. And what catches my attention about how good they are at networking is not about them kind of pushing their message in front of everybody, but it's about them seeing how they can help other people. So I think that's always a good thing, especially with some of these networking groups, is if you meet somebody at the back of your mind, think, how can I help them? Not in terms of the services that you offer, but whether somebody that you might be able to connect with them. And if you can, I think they call it like a super connector, that can really help. So someone said a 6:30 a.m. meeting of the BNI. Do you know what? I think that is probably another reason why I've never gone to a lot of these face-to-face networking groups. 6:30, okay, that's just crazy. I don't know if that's true. But a lot of these networking groups are, when you're meeting face-to-face, might have like breakfast networking sessions at 8 a.m. And for me, as a mum, that's just not possible. I sometimes struggle attending any of these face-to-face networking groups. For me, the best kind of time is during school hours. But again, I'm often quite busy, or maybe in the evening. But in the mornings, I just can't do anything like that. So I don't know who's asked the question because you're logged as guest 2,892. I wish I had that many people on the call. Actually, I don't think I do. I think I would find that a little bit crazy. But is there any such thing as too many people involved in a new business? No, definitely not. Well, I say that I think there's no harm in having lots of people involved in your business, but I think that in terms of managing that process, it needs to be fairly carefully managed, especially if they're doing outreach stuff. So you don't really want people just going off willy-nilly and contacting lots of companies, because it'll look really poor if someone gets contacted twice by two people in the same agency. And also, the more people you have involved in your business and access to the database or the CRM system, the more kind of unwielding it will be. You won't have everyone updating it. So I think if you can kind of control that process and have some kind of agreement, if you've got lots of people doing your business, then have an agreement that every week the companies they want to approach is kind of signed off centrally by one new business person, whoever it is that manages the database, and that's a good way to manage that. So you just need to make sure that you're not contacting all the same people, because apart from the fact you're doubling up on efforts, it will not look good. So you were saying we don't like being sold to, we do like to buy. Yeah, I mean, I definitely like to buy. That is so true. But when you walk into a car dealership, or when you walk into a homeware shop, and someone comes up to you straight away and they say, how can we help you? Your first reaction is to say, oh no, I'm all right, thank you, because we just don't want that. We just want to be able to have a little bit of a browse, and then we want to be able to buy, and then we also want someone who's kind of there to help us make those decisions. But yes, so it helps to, I'm just reading Ewan's question actually, it helps to frame the problem around facilitating buying for prospects. What will make them like to buy from, what will make them like to buy from us? How can we double down on that? I mean, you can't make that buying process, well, you can make that buying process easier by offering probably to do like a mini workshop, make that kind of first project quite small if you want. So you could offer to do, you could offer to, in that, maybe when you're doing a proposal for somebody, it might not necessarily have to be a big chunky piece of work. It might just be, okay, let's just, and we do that ourselves actually at Cherry. We don't charge people, a huge monthly retainer. We like to say, let's see what your budget is and see how we can allocate that across a 3-month or 6-month or 12-month period. But also we say, we work on a month-by-month contract, so that way you're making things easier. You want to kind of take away that risk. We say to some agencies, we can do like a trial project. So I think that's the kind of things that you might want to, how you can make things easier for someone to buy from you, is letting them kind of test the waters a little bit before they kind of enter into a bigger kind of project with you. Crystal is quite expensive per month. I thought you could use like a free version with a certain number of credits. Do you know what? I will have a look at that for you, Barbara, and I'll make a note now and I will come back to you, because I'm not sure. I thought that maybe for a certain, minimal number of credits. I don't know. If it's really expensive, I wouldn't say it was worth it. But yeah, Bex is saying you can visit a BNI group before you sign up. Yeah, and this is the thing, is that now we can't see anybody in person. It's like, how valuable are they? So Tim was asking me, am I part of any networking industry groups? So yeah, I am. So I am part of Agency Hackers, but that's all for agencies. It's all for agency owners. I'm part of a really interesting bunch of people called the Coalition. It's not really advertised in many places, but it's mainly kind of consultants, freelancers, and and then I am part of different Slack groups as well, and I have spotted opportunities. So I'm part of Wires Sussex, and in that Slack group I did get one of my clients a brief, because there was someone on there a while back who was looking for someone to help redesign their website. What are the other ones I'm part of? I'm part of Bloom UK. That's because I'm a mentor, and that's a communications in women a networking group. But yeah, they're the main ones, and unfortunately I just don't have time to go out, even pre-COVID, go out to attend some of these networking groups, because a lot of them are either 8 a.m. in the morning, or they're up in London late, after work, and then I don't want to travel back late at night, so it's a bit tricky. Getting up and getting kids out of bed is pants. Yeah, it's usually the other way around in my house, actually. My son's trying to get me out of bed in the morning at the moment. So yeah, when nurturing relationships, this is what's from Bex. How often would I suggest contacting people? Once a month, once a quarter? So yeah, I would say, usually I say kind of 8 weeks. But it does depend on how many contacts you've contacted. So how big your database is getting, because you don't want to have too many actions and tasks for you to do all the time, because that's another thing actually that can put you off, is if you're feeling really overwhelmed. I know that's something that I really suffer from badly, is if I get to a point where I feel overwhelmed and there's too many things, and I'm like, no, and then I can't cope, and then I don't do anything. And so what I'm saying is, if you're used to if you've suddenly got 200, 300 people on your database, and then you're trying to contact them all again every 6 to 8 weeks, it might end up being too much. So often as well, when I have if you approach somebody and you get no response, then I would suggest maybe trying again in 2 months' time, for example. If you do get a response from somebody, then I would always ask them. I would just say, I'd love to stay in touch. When's a good time? And just try and get a time frame out of them, especially if you've had a call with them or anything like that. But otherwise, I would say, every couple of months. And providing value as well, in terms of, sending stuff and keeping in touch with them is always thinking about the value, because actually you just, you've only got to look at your own inboxes and your own LinkedIn messages to see how many approaches you get all the time. And I get hundreds, and I'm just a very small consultancy business. So, I can only imagine what a marketing director from a big corporate brand is. It's the first time I've had a cup of coffee from a takeaway place in ages. Your mentions of new web tools to me have been a great feature for the workshops. Yes, thank you. What personal email finder tools are people using? Okay, yeah. I don't know who that is, 1378. But if you're in our Facebook group, I'll put them all in there, but I'll also put some in the chat now. So I'm just writing a note, email tools. I'm going to put them in the chat, but I'll say them as well out loud, just so that it's easier for you to see. So I use quite a few, and the reason why is because many of them have free options, and you can, up to a certain limit. And also sometimes you might look for an email address on one and they don't have it, but you look on another and they have it. So I use Contact Out and Rocket Reach. I also use Scrapio or Scrap.io. I think it's called Prospect.io. There's loads. One with my favourite name. I don't know why it's called that. Voila, Norbert. What are the other ones? Snowvio. I'm just writing it. Hunter's really good as well. And Hunter has a free email marketing tool as well that you can use, and a free tool where you can track whether someone's opened your email. They're the ones I can think of at the moment. But what I do is I have accounts with all of them. I don't pay for any of those. And they are all really good at finding email addresses. But then often you can kind of guess the email address. So when you go onto Hunter, for example, you don't have to. Let me just actually share my screen. There we go. So hopefully you can see this. So let me go on to Hunter. So say you want to find someone at Barclays. There's not that many at Barclays. That's quite strange. Only 4. Okay. So Barclays maybe not, but say you want to find someone at Barclays, it gives you like a common pattern. So you don't necessarily have to find the exact person's name, but you know that maybe the pattern might be first name dot surname, or so you want to find someone at AstraZeneca.com. So there's millions. So you could kind of search for the name, the actual name. If you're logged in, you can search the actual name, but usually you don't need it. You can just see. Well, actually, a thing is, well, with a lot of pharmaceutical companies, some of them do customize the address a little bit more by adding in numbers. They're a bit more clever, just because they don't want to have any activists kind of, you know, being mean to them. But yeah, that's what you can do. Or you can have those. Let me try and unshare my screen now. Or you can have those LinkedIn extensions that will find the contact names for you. So that's really helpful. But now, by showing my screen, I've lost my chat. Oh, there we go. So yeah, are there any more questions? Oh, that was Dave. Thanks, Dave. So yeah, so they're the main ones. But I'll put it in the Facebook group as well, in case you don't see this, haven't managed to make a note of those. There's so many tools out there. I mean, one that I really like for email marketing is reply.io. It's a really good one. So Charlotte says, yeah, most of them have a certain amount of credits. I can't really remember how many. They're all different. Often a lot of these companies as well give me free credits, because this is a good thing. I wrote a... They're obviously really hot on content marketing, because I wrote a blog post ages ago about email marketing tools and mentioned a few. And then since then, they've all contacted me and said, can you mention my one as well? And I'll give you free credit. So that was quite handy. But often if you run out of credit and you want them to try it more, you can ask them to send you some free credit. But yeah, they do have a limit on them. And the email marketing tool reply.io is not free, I don't think, and if they do have a free package, they may well do, it will probably have the reply.io branding, which doesn't look great. I would pay personally, but I think Hunter does have a free email marketing tool, but when I used it, it wasn't as good as the reply.io one, if I'm honest. So yeah, reply.io, I think it is paid for. I think their entry level is $70 a month. But it is really good, and you can switch on and switch off, so you can use it 1 month and then not the next month if you don't need it. So it's a good one. I use that one quite a bit. And with all of these, I'm sure they'll give you free trials as well. So yeah, any other questions? Have a quick look in the chat before I go. I think that's it. Oh, so yeah, I've really, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much as well for showing up and being here. It's been great to have a good number again. And yeah, I'll be in the Facebook group as well, answering any questions. And of course, join us tomorrow to see if you've won the big prize. I'm always quite excited to see who that is. So I'll be checking all my social media today and tomorrow morning to note down any more entries, and then just before the celebration party, I don't know what we call it, before the live session tomorrow, I'll put them all into I think you can, I can't remember what tool I used last time, but you can put them into some kind of random generator online. I think they allocate a number against everyone. You do an online random number generator, and I'll do that. Brilliant. No worries. Thank you. And don't forget to catch up on all the stuff. If you haven't managed to, then do the sessions. This session will be uploaded in the next hour or so. So yeah, don't forget. Obviously, you don't need to watch this one again, but don't forget to catch up on the other ones. All right, I will let you go and check my son's doing all right with his learning. Take care. Bye.